Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Michael D'Andrea. I live in a small town in Hawaii called Kaneohe, and it borders on suburban and rural geographic areas. Kind of more country-ish than suburban-ish, if you will. I say that because you may hear in the background chickens crowing or dogs barking or birds chirping or children making pleasurable sounds out in their yards as they play together. This is all a part of not only my personal lifestyle, but it also carries over to my professional endeavors, including making videos that address serious issues related to counselor educators, practitioners, students, and other allied professionals in the field. I have been working with other ACA members and APA members in developing a new national project entitled The Call of Conscience: Promoting Justice, Peace, and Healthy Human Development by Reducing Violence in Our Society. I also accompany this video with a brief statement about what is right and what is wrong with our reactions to the increasing racial violence and cultural injustices that we can't hide from because of the massive mass media coverage of these issues. But more to the point, it's important that we don't hide from these issues because as citizens of the United States, it's thought that all of us have the responsibility and the interest and motivation to make our country better still. We are a great nation, but we do have flaws, and these flaws are reflected in human misery, injury, and death. We are sending this invitation for persons who are interested in checking out a new national project, the one I just stated its title, which is comprised of a series of free webinars. The launching of this new national project and the free webinars begin this Wednesday, September 28th, 2016 at 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Now, we have seen a minimal increase in listservs that include members of the American Counseling Association. And this slight increase is by persons who wish to make a public stand about the racial violence that we see occurring in this country, and others who indicate, and I believe accurately so, that we are heading forward towards increasing violence against police officers and other persons who stand out as defenders of a status quo, the status quo in the United States that includes various forms of racism and the perpetuation of cultural violence in many forms. There are individuals in the American Counseling Association whose faith and belief in an optimistic future, in a future that is marked by our own abilities to realize new potentialities for our nation, a nation that we are committed to not only support, but to identify areas that need improvement. After all, a true patriot does not stand by in the sidelines, simply watching the parade of political activities pass one by, but rather has the strength and commitment to praise our strengths as a nation, but also a real patriot is one who identifies problems that are both reflected in individual behaviors and, perhaps even more important, by the insidious forms of structural racism and cultural violence that operate as a veil that to many people help them avoid cognitive dissonance and discomfort in even thinking about these problems. I have a tremendous amount of faith in mental health professionals in general and counselors in particular because they are so well positioned to develop and work with others to continue to implement helping strategies in order to assist individuals whose psycho, social, and spiritual capacities have been compromised by the violence, not only through gunshots, but through economic injustice, environmental destruction, looking at ways that the gap in the racial academic problems can be bridged. There are people who continue to work and look at ways to help deal with the racial medical care gap in our nation. There are people who believe that poverty can be not just lessened, but eliminated when citizens in this country, the greatest country in many ways in the world, work to improve and address the flaws that underlie structural economic injustices. There are other persons in our association, and I know that you're familiar with some of these persons, who carry a strong pessimism about our future, who carry the belief that persons in marginalized and devalued groups in general, and in particular African Americans, Latinos, Latinas, persons who probably have the greatest moral claim to this land, the Native American Indians, Native Hawaiians, and the indigenous people of Alaska, are to blame because they don't assert the personal responsibility and decision-making that is necessary to achieve the economic security, professional status, and personal well-being as their white counterparts. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. Those people who believe if only individuals who are protesting would make better decisions, would take responsibility for their lives, these problems would vanish. There are other people, sadly, who point to police officers as not only the main, but perhaps the only problem that is causing such a racial cultural divide in our country. These persons believe that if police officers were to stop their shooting at unarmed persons of color, that the problem of racism and institutional forms of racism and cultural injustice would eliminate. Certainly, it is my hope that we all believe that police brutality lessens and there's an increase among all of our sense of responsibility, not as individuals only, but as people who are committed by a patriotic duty to work on the complex issues that underlie much of the overt tensions and violence we see manifested in our society. The project, The Call of Conscience, promoting justice, peace, and healthy human development by reducing violence in our society, is not intended to communicate a message that we, the people, we, the members of the counseling profession, we, members of other allied professions, need to get on a horse and do 100% more on 10 different things. No, that is not the call of conscience for this project. Rather, we are sponsoring free webinars that are encouraging healthy and robust discussions in which people feel safe to agree and to agree to disagree in different ways as we collectively search for ways that individuals can invest 5% more of their time and energy in one area that focuses in on peace, justice, and healthy human development. Many people raise criticisms about initiatives like this, as well as complaining about who's responsible for the racism and injustices in our society. Well, I'm not sure that really gets us very far, but rather I am certain that working together, first pointing out the strengths of what other people are doing, and then making suggestions about how individuals can build on the strengths of their social justice advocacy, their work as mental health practitioners, their work as teachers, the important work of parents, coaches, members of religious communities can do to help join with others in finding solutions to these complex problems. These are indeed dangerous times. These are indeed times in which the future of our destiny will be shaped. These are times that persons who really do not articulate or work with others to implement potential solutions to the problem must in all honesty recognize that without offering solutions, they, or you yourself, are part of the problem. We hope that individuals will consider joining us in an unprecedented venture in the mental health professions to implement the advocacy competencies working with and working on behalf of persons who are suffering, not only as victims of violence and injustice, but those persons who perpetuate violence through their actions or violence through their silence. As Dr. King has taught us well, there comes a time when silence is betrayal. The silence that permeates our own profession and elected presidents of ACA and past presidents of APA who remain silenced on issues of racial violence and what we can do collectively to deal with this violence and cultural injustices. Their silence is a betrayal to us as a nation and as a profession. It is my hope that you will consider joining and checking out the new program that is entitled The Call of Conscience, promoting justice, peace, and healthy human development by reducing violence in our society. Working together, we can indeed change the future of our nation, of our communities, of our schools and universities, of our workplaces, of our professional organizations, and perhaps as a starting point, we can experience changes in ourselves. We will be calling upon people who don't identify with any particular religious or spiritual philosophy. We will also be calling upon the beliefs and traditions of people who identify with Islam and Christianity and Judaism and Hinduism and other religious philosophies, including Buddhism. As a practicing Buddhist myself, who is involved in a community that chant twice a day, once at the beginning of the day, once at the end of the day, chanting so that others might have a happy day, a healthy day, a safe day, and a day in which they experience peace within themselves and others. We chant on a regular basis across the world and across the United States for these principles, and these principles are indeed important in fulfilling the Buddhist goal in promoting world peace and experiencing happiness ourselves and with others. So we begin each day and end each day with a chant in which we repeat Japanese words that mean, I dedicate myself to the mystic law of cause and effect through sound. And this chanting goes something like this. Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. It is my hope that persons with or without religious foundations who are concerned about the direction of our country will consider checking out Wednesday's free webinar, and the link to this webinar is posted as part of this message. I appreciate you taking time from busy schedules to listen to this message, and I'm hopeful that you'll check out working with other colleagues in the counseling profession and other allied professions to help contribute to a reduction in violence and structural forms of injustice, not only in our societal institutions, but yes, those forms of racism and cultural oppression that continue to be manifested in the counseling profession and other allied professions. Here's blessing you happiness throughout the day, good health to you and your loved ones, experiencing peace for yourself and other people today, and enjoying the sort of happiness that comes with operating with these goals and values in mind. Thank you very much, and please have a wonderful day and a wonderful week today.